We're back once again with r/entitled parents. Can't take the camera out today, but we still got the stories. So let's get on in them, and I'll see you in a bit. I'm pregnant and have a kid. Let me cut in front of you. I'm also pregnant, lady. Ever since I became pregnant, I've become a magnet for entitled parents. I have no idea what it is. Maybe they can just smell the pregnancy hormones, and it brings out that essence of entitlement. I have no idea. This happened to me while I was about 3 months along. I was at a grocery store picking up a few things. I was tired, sick from morning sickness, and desperate to find something to eat that I could keep down. So, I didn't have many purchases while standing in line waiting to be checked out. And from behind me enters the entitled mother. The cast is simple, me and EM. She had a child, but he didn't say anything that I remember. I was still waiting to put my purchases on the counter while the other person was checking out. I heard the EM come up from behind me and clear her throat. EM, excuse me. I turn and this woman didn't really look like a typical Karen. She actually looked more like those bottle blonde sorority girls with tons of makeup on. She had an adorable little boy in her cart, I guess maybe 3 years old, and she was obviously pregnant, I'd guess between 6 and 7 months. Me, yes, I'm tired and, not gonna lie, was kinda rude when I said it. EM, I'm very tired and want to get home. Can you just let me in front of you? This woman literally had a cart full of groceries. I can be kind of a pushover, so if she only had a few things, I probably would have let her. Me, I only have a couple of items. I'll be checked out pretty fast. EM, oh come on. I'm pregnant and very tired. My feet are killing me, and I need to get my son home. Me, well, I'm pregnant and fighting morning sickness. I just want to get my soup and Tylenol so I can eat and sleep. She scoffed and looked at my stomach. EM, you're not pregnant. Don't give me that bullcrap. Me, lady, I don't really care what you think. And turned back to face the cashier as she finally finished scanning the groceries of the guy in front of me. I could literally hear her scoffing and muttering under her breath. As I was being checked out, she was still muttering under her breath and tapping her shoe impatiently. EM, some people are just so rude. I really wish I'd just turned and snapped at her again, but I was tired and sick, and I tried to ignore her. EM literally began throwing stuff onto the counter the second there was space, still muttering about wanting to go home and how I was such a lying bitch. The cashier was looking at her and rolling her eyes at the EM. As soon as I was checked out, literally took 5 minutes, if that, I got my receipt and looked at the EM. Me, sorry I took a whole 10 minutes away from you. Have a wonderful day. EM, oh screw you. Me, no thanks, not into stupid blondes. I was a little happy. I made the cashier laugh while I walked away. She yelled something else, but I ignored her. I still regret not having a better comeback than what I said though. That was a pretty good comeback. Not very exciting, but that was my first run-in with an EM. Sadly, I have more stories, and I would love to finish this pregnancy with no more encounters of entitled parents or entitled people in general. Thanks for reading. Karen follows son to college, repeatedly escorted away by campus police. So, I have an almost endless supply of entitled parent stories because I've worked in advising at an expensive private university. Today, I was reminded about the most epic one by her son, who is back in town for a reunion. Let me tell you about one Karen and her super embarrassed son. We'll call him Phil. Karen was the ultimate helicopter parent with no boundaries whatsoever. In spite of living cross-country from the university, she came with Phil to orientation and moved into a hotel on the edge of campus for the entire first semester. There was not one meeting or event I ever held that semester that Karen didn't try to crash. It started during orientation. She escorted poor Phil everywhere and demanded her own name badge that said Phil's mother on it so she'd be let into orientation events. When we wouldn't make her one, she went to Staples and got them to print one for her. She threw 16 kinds of fits, demanding her own university ID, that would allow her access to the dorms. Massively against every policy we have. She tried having Phil claim his was lost so she could get a second ID of his. Apparently, the concept that we just deactivate the lost one escaped her. The house manager of the dorm had to tell her to leave and stop beating on the door to be let in every morning. She also demanded the university email account so she could directly access our learning management system. We declined, and access is granted by class list anyway. She wouldn't have been able to see anything even if she'd gotten that precious guest account. She then went to the help desk and threw such an epic crap fit about needing to keep an eye on Phil's work that the campus police had to escort her out. It must be absolutely exhausting to be Karen. Karen also shows up at the first advising group meeting, and every single one thereafter, and insists on coming along to the dinner I was taking them on. I tried my very best to tell her that wasn't happening, students only. She went on a screaming tirade about how much money she spent on tuition and how dare I separate her from her baby. He'd never been anywhere alone before. Yes, I completely believe that. She literally followed us to the restaurant, grabbed a spare chair, and pulled it up to the table where my group was seated. She tried to order for Phil and herself the second the server came to the table. And I informed the server she was not with our party, I wasn't paying for any of her stuff, and could she please be removed as she was very much unwelcome. Nobody else brought their mother. Poor Phil was completely mortified as she was kicked out of a popular local restaurant screaming the whole way. The first advising meeting, where we registered students for classes, was a real trip. She of course showed up with Phil and threw a screaming fit he hadn't gotten into a very popular class that was lottery only. No freshman ever got into this class. It wasn't gonna happen. I also don't take advising meetings with parents present, not even on the phone. So this whole fit about the lottery class happened in the lobby of my building. Awkward. I eventually got Phil registered, but back at my door, he was a half hour later. Mother hadn't liked what he picked, and he needed to change his registration before it was finalized, which I couldn't do because we already submitted it, and he had to take an add/drop form instead. The whole time she's standing outside my office door, screaming at me for being stupid to register him for the class I did. And he'd never get into good grad school with such stupid courses on his transcript. Of course, her alternative choice was also extremely popular, and had already had its lottery. The screech about how he already had been stuck with a second choice could probably be heard 3 buildings away. She additionally wanted me to get him into a physical ed class immediately that hadn't even held registration yet. WTF? Crazy lady was screaming about how he needed to take fencing outside my door for a good 20 minutes while I tried to register another student. She eventually got asked to leave. She was a full-tilt frequent flyer with the campus police before registration day even arrived. Every single time she would loudly yell at them that she was just standing up for her baby boy. Another event I took the crew to that year was a baseball game. Sure enough, she tried to RSVP. I informed her students only. She informed me Phil wasn't allowed to go without her, so there better be a ticket for both of them. I was again firm in replying students only. She showed up, she threw another crap fit, and literally ripped the ticket out of one of the other kids' hands, and then took off with it. It was a sold out game. I didn't have extras. I don't know how Karen thought this would end, but I'm a season ticket holder. One quick call and that ticket was canceled, and a replacement waiting for us at will call. I was later told by my season ticket rep that she threw quite the crap fit at the gate when her ticket didn't work and had been reportedly stolen/reissued. Phil never did join the rest of us in the stands. Of course, she tried to follow poor Phil to classes and showed up to professor office hours to yell at them about assignments and grades. I didn't see any of that myself, but word got around. I don't believe she ever got arrested for any of it. Campus police don't like to do that with parents. But everybody in administration knew of her. Everybody. Karen finally went home and stayed there at Christmas break. According to Phil, the hotel was sick of her crap and wouldn't extend her reservation any further. I can only imagine what a nightmare she was to them. Apparently, that was enough to get her to leave for good. Poor Phil never quite lived down the horrid reputation he got as a result, but at least he escaped her at last. Don't be Karen. Just drop your kids at orientation, buy them a mini fridge, and go home. Phil turned out fine, by the way. Graduated, has a good job. Not much of a relationship with Karen anymore. Entitled mother wants me to apologize for asking her to stand back from a painting. Some background. I worked at a gallery in New York, doing security that had a Basquiat exhibit. Most of the paintings weren't protected by anything other than extensions at the bottom that were 3 feet away from us. The security. There's no liquids inside the building, along with no professional photography or getting too close to the paintings. There are 4 floors, and you take the elevator up to the 4th, then work your way down the stairs. Once you're down here, there's no re-entry to the floors above you. The day started just like any other day. In the mornings, most people are pretty good about following the rules. But as the day goes on, for some reason people get bolder and push to see how much they can get away with and whatnot. Not to say that sometimes things happen on accident. I get that sometimes people get carried away looking at the art and accidentally go past, or they're trying to show their friends something and when they point, just get a little too close. Which normally isn't a problem. We just tell them to take a couple steps back and to be mindful of the extensions. On this particular day, we had a couple class field trips, along with regular admissions, so the gallery was packed. The class was doing pretty well for a bunch of 3rd and 4th graders. There were chaperones with the class, along with the security officers, and a couple of interns to help the curators while she gave the tour. This particular group had an EP with a child, who decided to go on their own to explore the gallery and not stay with the class. We told her to stay with the class, but she simply refused, saying they wouldn't be able to look at the pieces they wanted if they stayed with the group, saying that she knew more about the art than the curator. After telling our manager, he said we have more important things to worry about, so to just go let her go on her own, but to shadow her because she was still a part of the school group. For the most part, the EP was pretty well behaved. She would pass the extension sometimes, and we would tell her to step back. EP would give us a look, but would obey. She was genuinely trying to teach her child about the art, which was good. The issue began once she went down to the first and final floor of the exhibit, when she asked to speak to the manager. I radioed my boss, and he came down shortly, only to have this lady say she wanted an apology and a free t-shirt from the gift shop for her child for all the distress we caused them, saying that she did not appreciate being followed or being told to stand back from the painting because she was just trying to teach her child. My jaw dropped. Every piece in the gallery is worth a couple millions and is pretty irreplaceable, as the artist is dead, and this lady wanted us to apologize for telling her to step back from a painting for being too close and for shadowing her as we do with all the school classes. My manager explained to her that those were our policies and would not have us apologize, for that was our job, what we were paid to do. EP was mad and kept demanding her apology and t-shirt. I was flabbergasted. She ended up leaving without the class, and the school teacher apologized to us for her behavior. It still gets me so mad. She really wanted us to apologize for telling her she was too close to a painting. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider subscribing, maybe ringing the bell. And if you really liked it, maybe leave a like and share. Anyways, I'll see you again in the next one. Peace out.